Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you can learn to make more money in less time and have more fun. I am Paul Sanneman, the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. I have with me today David Cavalero and Ian Kelly from Tradesman, and they've got a really cool portal which allows people to connect in the industry, and I think is a big missing thing. So can you, David, tell me about what you guys do and how you got there? Same thing with Ian.
Yeah, so Tradesman was started as a way to bring everybody in the construction industry together. So I'm a contractor, started this platform as a contractor looking for the things that I needed in my business to help me grow. One of the hardest things for us to find are other subcontractors to work with. A lot of people like to keep their subs to themselves. It's really difficult to find new quality subs, especially when you're growing your business. So in that issue, we created Tradesman. So Tradesman is the first open platform which allows everybody from the subcontractors, contractors, engineers, architects, draftsmen, all the resources we need all together on one platform, open for everybody to see. So you can come on and look at any sub from any trade, any specialty trade subs, all the contractors in the area. You need a draftsman, you need an engineer, architect, everything's on one place for the first
So
time.
if someone goes to Tradesman, how do they get involved? They like pay a monthly fee and join? How's that all work?
Yeah, so tradesman is so as a contractor or a sub and looking to be on the platform so people can find you, it's a profile-based membership. So monthly based membership. Subcontractors, I think we're at $29.99 a month, and our contractors are at $49.99 a month. Very, very low price, very, again, I created it as a contractor looking to give back all the resources that I needed, right? So it says it's very affordable, and we came out that way for a reason. So it's really it's a great thing, and as the network grows, it's going to be we'll want to be the strongest platform in the construction industry.
Now, what markets are you currently in?
What do we mean by markets?
I mean, where like if I've got somebody in Ohio or Tucson, I mean, there's,
So
got a lot
Go
of
ahead.
markets.
I'll intercept that question. That's a great question because that's kind of how we got here, right? So my background has nothing to do with construction at all. So my background came from the creative space, which then in turn went to a digital footprint, which then in turn full tech space. And I would say, pre-COVID, my company was very much driven on the creative side of things. We worked with a lot of music artists, randomly enough. And then as COVID hit, we became more sophisticated in what our companies offered and what we were doing. And I actually met David through that process. And he came out to me about a year ago and just said, "Hey, listen, I'm a third generation contractor. I see a huge need for what I have in my mind that I want to execute. I have so many projects going on. I cannot staff enough people. I can't find enough subs, and I don't want to lose on the projects I have, but I cannot find the people I need in order to finish these projects." And David is a very, very, buttoned down, dialed in contractor. he's the one that gets a good reputation to contractors. And he's all about his reputation. So when I first sat with him, I said, "Listen, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure something like this already exists, right?" Because I didn't know that side of the sector. And I'm sure it's a massive ecosystem when I first looked at it. And then I said, "Listen, I think, we should really look at this before you dive too deep." And he was like, "Nope. I know for a fact what I have in my head does not exist, not the way that I see it." And fast forward to today, we just had our first trade show. We launched the site at the trade show. So to ask what markets we're in, we just launched. The sky's the limit. Our hope is to be everywhere and have this grow organically. The best part about this, what David's saying, is it is an open platform. So if you are a contractor, a subcontractor, this is a great way for them to find each other, commercial, residential sector and space. And I think the best that we have taken is, since we've launched, which is obviously very recently, the response has been amazing. Honestly, the response we've gotten from people has been kind of overwhelming. David and I had two different set of expectations going into the launch and then going into this trade show IBS that we just left. And both of us whatever we had in our mind and imagined was far exceeded by the reality and execution afterwards. And the follow-ups, we've had some great relationships. People have really responded well to the platform. They love it. They find it very simple, yet creative and effective. And I think that's what makes it different. So to ask what sectors, what markets, we want to be everywhere. So if you have people in Ohio, tell them about it.
I guess the
Yeah.
question I have is because, especially when you're looking for it's all about location, and at least in the subcontract. So if I'm in Denver or I'm in Tucson or I'm wherever, I'm interested in finding subcontractors in that market. And so I was wondering, how do you get, I mean, everywhere is a big sentence, right? Like, we had a big area because it took us 4 years to get there, but how you just sort of throwing it out there and see what markets show up? I mean, I'm curious how you're determining if the whole US is open, whoever shows up, shows up. I'm curious how that works.
David, you want to take this or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, so I mean, we're aggressively currently in California and right now Texas. But we're trying to aggressively be everywhere, right? So we're attending trade shows across the nation. So we're going to be through Texas, Arizona, Florida, North Carolina, multiple places. Yeah. So, and then multiple cities in these states as well. So this year we're going to be, you know, every month we're in a different state pretty much. So we're attacking as fast as we can. But we want it to organically grow. So we want everybody. So if you're in a state in Ohio and you're like, how do I find these people? Well, it starts with you, right? So create your profile, get on there, talk to everybody you know. As we're out here pushing our marketing and aggressively pushing and pushing, you know, we can help to grow it ourselves in this industry that's been word of mouth. We can bring our word of mouth into the platform and start to grow the platform so we no longer have to be word of mouth. So we're gonna, you know, it's going to take us time as we just launched, but we're going to be there. But we want everybody out there to help grow it with us, right? Word of mouth, be on the platform, be the first in your state, be the first in your city, have your subs be the first in the city. You know, use it for your connections and your subs as a way to connect to each other as well. And then as that grows, people will be able to access you, more people will follow. You know, organically, we want to be there.
I'm in the industry a long time, and it makes a lot of sense because there is a way to find some contractors. How do you deal, and this is, you know, where people have, there's some contractors like my guy. I mean, you know, like their secret sauce, right? I'm sure you're in, right? So it's like, well, I have my framer and I only go to me because I'm afraid my competitions get a hold of my framer who's amazing. And I don't want anybody to steal my framer from me. Does that ever show up for you guys? Because I know when I've dealt with contractors, it's like they own their subcontractors, don't want to share them with them. That's the problem. This is a good idea. Got to get people to do it.
That's a great, if you don't mind, David, I'll take that one.
Yep.
That's a great point you're pointing out. And it's interesting because, like I said, from our launch, the people we've met have really responded well to it. And I would say the biggest thing that we've also heard is that debate, right? They're like, well, I don't want to share my guys. I'm already, you know, having a hard time fulfilling the jobs that I have right now currently and getting that accomplished. And we thought about it from the other perspective, right? So if I'm a subcontractor, I want options. I want to work. I don't want to just be held to one project. There might be other work for me to do. And also there might be a few weeks where my contractor isn't sending me work. If there's someone else in my area that I can send me work, then I'm going to go get it. So for the subcontractors, this is a great place to be found and communicate with and work. So that, I think, is the difference, is we are definitely trying to keep this open so that way people can find who they're looking for.
I agree with the idea. I'm just saying that one of the problems that's been in the industry is people have not been willing. Contractors not great at sharing resources. As a group, they're not really good at that.
Nope.
It's just
And
not,
I can add a little bit to that. So that is the most common thing, right? The most common, and anyone in the industry knows that no contractor wants to share their subs. I've got family members that are contractors that won't share their subs. They're like, you know, it's just one of those things. But when it boils down to it, the more connections we've been making, I've made connections with people in other states where they're you know, I don't want to say this the wrong way, right? But their scope of thinking is a lot bigger, right? So when they're more open to sharing their subs. So they have a list of 30 subs, right? Because they're doing so many projects a year. Well, companies and guys like that are like, no, we would love to share our subs, you know, because by doing so, that means we're going to have access to more as well, right? So yes, we have ours and we treat ours well. And we know that, you know, when we need ours, they'll be there. And then we will also grow this network to have access to more subs. So the idea of having to hold on to your subs because they're the best ones, you know, and it's so hard to find other ones, that's the whole purpose of this. We're trying to take that out of the equation and now create a platform where there's going to be, you know, an abundance of subs to where if your sub's unavailable, you can find another sub. And in here, you can start to create a list of all your favorite subs and all the guys you really like, and, you know, and start to create availabilities and see, you know, because you can see who's available, who's not available. And if they're not, you can find the next one. People are rated, you know, there's a ton of quality subs. That's why there's so many contractors that just hold on to theirs. Well, if all of us love ours so much and we all put them on the same platform, there's a lot of great subs out there, you know, that we just don't know about.
I mean,
So,
I agree with you philosophically. I mean, I think what contractors say, well, you know, you show me yours, but I'm not going to show you mine, which is sort of crazy, right? I mean, it's like,
but, and you know, so I've been leading, I've been leading that way in my contractor business. So in my business, I've been leading that way my whole time. So people will call, I'll give my subs, but you know what? Every single time I need my subs on my job, they're available for me, or they'll make time for me, or, you know, they'll be like, okay, I'm on a job, I can squeeze it in this time and that time. And they make it work with you because, you know, they know that you freed them up or sent them other work. You know, they
right.
appreciate it
It's
as
an
well.
abundance versus a scarcity mentality, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
if you believe in abundance, there's enough work for everybody, and you're not going to like hold your people to your chest. I found out doing coaching a long time that if you work in the best interest of your subcontractors, like give them work, don't hold them captive, they'll treat you well. Because
Exactly.
they'll appreciate the fact that you care about them and you want to give them other work, and you're not trying to just, well, if you can't work for me, you can't work at all, because that's not a good idea. That's not the position that we're supposed to work. So I philosophically agree with you. I think it's gonna be a challenge, but hopefully you can pull it off where you can get people to understand that sharing your subcontractors is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny, you know, I think you're also leading into the other question of, okay, well, how are you going to get there? How are you going to penetrate these markets? How are you going to find these people? And it's funny because I've told people many times, and I've done public speaking, and I've sat on panels, and people are like, what's the recipe for conversion? What's the recipe for marketing? Honestly, the biggest thing that will never change is that interpersonal communication, just meeting people and talking about it and spreading the word. And honestly, we've had the best, I would say, I don't want to use conversion for lack of a better word, but we've had the best receptions from those we've met in person, talking about the platform, showing how passionate we are about it. And we've seen the best responses every single time with that.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, I'm sure when dating apps came out, you never want your girlfriend to go on one, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you get, you know, you're not going to stop it. I think it's a good idea. And as I see it, that if people share their resources, there's more resources for everybody. And I
Exactly.
think, and when you
You
know,
nailed it. That's perfect. What you just said is perfect.
right. And when people can, you know, keep their resources to themselves, then they don't, I don't think it's worse for the whole industry, because
Yep.
then you can't find a good plumber, can't find a good electrician, you're trying to find this kind of guy. And unfortunately, in this industry, I've noticed that there may be builder 20 groups, and there's other groups out there where contractors share, but in general, contractors are very to themselves kind of guys, right? They don't hang out with them, because I was on the board of NARI, and a lot of people, like, there are different boards I've been on, and you go to a NARI meeting and hopefully they'll share, because everybody has something to help everybody else. If there's, you know, the group consciousness is better than the single consciousness. So if people are willing to share their good ideas, there's enough for everybody. And I think, I'm going to get a little philosophic here, I think collaboration works better than competition. And
Absolutely.
that's, you know, I've done a lot of studying about that. And there's a whole, you know, Darwin, survival of the fittest. I don't think that's the way the world works. I mean, if you look at your human body, it's got 50 trillion cells that all cooperate, you'd be dead. So nature itself is built on cooperation. But unfortunately, since Darwin, I'm trying to relearn this at this point, we've got that the, you know, the, what is it? The nature of the universe is competition. I don't think it works that way. Because if everybody collaborates and you know, like this platform you've got, and shares their resources, everybody's going to do better. You know, it's not, because there's enough work out there for everybody.
Yep.
And I think the idea of, you know, kill your competition is not necessarily a good idea, because if you're open and sharing your resources, their friends share their resources, and then people can help the industry improve as a whole, I think.
And
That
that's exactly
could not have said it perfect. That was absolutely perfect way to say it, because collaborations is something that I've always prided myself on. So is David. And with this, we have had so many people reach out to us about working together, because I think they're looking at it as kind of like a fresh perspective. I mean, I go back to like the days of MySpace and Facebook and the evolution with that. MySpace, technically, in my eyes, was more aesthetically, you know, had a little bit more off to it. It was media players were a little cleaner on it. There's more artistic side to it. Your landscape backdrops were interesting. Facebook came out and was very simple, very simple. And it was word of mouth that spread. And it was the universities that carried it forward. And it blows my mind, because they didn't do any marketing. Not at the beginning. They didn't do any marketing. It was just word of mouth. And it was people saying, oh, my friend at this university is using it. It's clean, it's simple, you should check it out. And it spread like wildfire. And we hope to have that same success. That'd be great. We would, you know, be honored to have that, is probably the best word to use. But I really do feel like this is going to have the best collaborative efforts out there for what we're offering to people. And I think that if people really do understand that this becomes more powerful, the more that people are on there. So if people are transparent, they're letting the subs and telling people about it, that word of mouth makes this more. So every city will become more and more powerful as this builds. And that's the best part about it, because then people are getting way
the big
more out of it.
problem is, well, it says like reviews when it came to like, what is it? You know, the people where you rent houses and that kind of stuff, you know, the more reviews you need to find to be able to vet people, and it's hard to vet subcontractors. Whereas if you got, you know, like a platform where people can vet subcontractors, and for lack of a better term, the guy's not good or he is good, whatever, it allows contractors to not guess as much. They can say, oh, I found this guy on Tradesman, he's got a lot of good reviews, seems like a great guy. You know, it's sort of like Airbnb. I think I want to stay there, right? So it's like, to me, it's the same kind of thing, where you have an open platform, people can share their opinions, and the more people know, the more I think it empowers everybody. Because finding subcontractors is a big issue for all kinds. That's why we do recruiting, because recruiting is a big issue. That's why we took that one on. But finding subcontractors is a big thing. And in a perfect world, if a lot of subcontractors were on there and a lot of generals had access to it, they would solve one of the biggest problems, how to find a good subcontractor, which I think is a great idea.
And it's also allowing these companies to grow, right? So one of my biggest issues why this came about, I had work planned out for 5-6 months, right? And it was stacking out because I couldn't keep up with it, because I didn't have enough guys, I didn't have enough subs. I had to keep stacking it. So as I tried to hire on a bunch of different people from random places and just try to find things, it was so difficult. And then you try to bring in resources from places that, you know, aren't very reliable or credible, or however we find our resources.
I mean,
you know,
you don't want to go to the internet and look up electricians, right? And you're going, okay, it's a crapshoot. I got to find an electrician. And you're afraid if the guy isn't busy, isn't any good, right? That's like the thing. Right? So if the guy answers the phone and he's not busy, he's probably not a good electrician or a plumber or stage fat guy, whatever, right? So I think it's a good resource. I think you've got a great idea here, and I do think that it's needed in the industry. I definitely promote collaboration versus competition. And if the more the industry collaborates in platforms like things, the better off we're all going to be. That looks like.
Well said.
So
well said.
If people want to get a hold of you guys, how do they do it?
Well, many ways. You go to tradesman.net. You can do anything. David will happily give his cell phone right now.
Yeah. You can give us a call. 619-845-2769. David, CEO at tradesman.net, or go www.tradesman.net. You know, either way, we're available to talk at any time.
For any collaborative efforts.
If you guys want to do that and you listen to this podcast and you have a hard time finding subcontractors, if you and your buddies would get together and share some resources that help everybody else out, I think this is a platform that actually does that, which I think is a great idea. So thank you guys. I appreciate you showing up, and I hope this succeeds a lot. I think it's a great
Thank
idea.
you very much.
Awesome.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us on here. We appreciate that you believe in what we're doing. Thank you.